This episode of Destructoid is brought to you by Jack Threads. Coming up on Destructoid, I got to play Assassin's Creed 3 last week, and now I can finally talk about it. Borderlands 2 might not be gory enough for you, and Mark of the Ninja is coming to PC. All that and more right now on Destructoid.
Welcome to Destructoid. I'm Tara Long.
And I'm Max Scoville.
Happy Monday, Max.
Happy Monday, Tara. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't go to Vegas this weekend, so I feel fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm terrific, actually.
Yeah.
Never better.
Yeah.
We got a full show today, also.
Yeah, we did. Actually, last week, you guys might have known I was in Boston checking out Assassin's Creed 3, and the embargo lifted this morning. So I can finally tell you about it. Our pal Hamza... Well, my pal. Yeah, Tara hates Hamza.
We're in a fight.
Right, they had a big fight. Hamza was out there too. He was covering the event. His full written review is also up over, or preview is over on Destructoid.com, and I would very much recommend reading it because there's a ton of detail just jam-packed into the time we spent with the game. Now, one of the big elements in Assassin's Creed 3, to get into the things that I'm going to tell you about it, is the homestead, which acts sort of like the Auditore Villa in Brotherhood, except it's more of a hub world. It's its own standalone map, and it's the starting point for a lot of story missions, as well as a bunch of side missions. And over the course of the game, which is set over the course of 30 years, your homestead will grow from being just sort of a little house to actually being like a little town. And certain side quests will actually populate your homestead with craftsmen and shopkeepers. For example, I came across a woman who'd been hunting when she was wounded by poachers. So this started a mission where I had to carry her to my house in my arms. This mission you're seeing right here is a different one.
I was going to say, she doesn't look wounded.
That one's about burglars, I think. But I had to carry the hunter girl up to the house, and they put like a poultice on her ankle or something. And then I ran off to take out the poachers and scare the last one off and tell him not to come on my land anymore. And then the hunter later took up residence in my homestead and would give me extra meat from our hunting trips, which is good because I like to eat meat. And of course, the homestead's also got like a harbor sort of in the river, so you can launch naval missions from there on your cool boat. Probably worth mentioning that the world of Assassin's Creed 3 is just massive. You've got the homestead map, you've got Boston, you've got New York, and you've got the frontier, which is like almost twice as big as Rome and Brotherhood. And moving around the frontier feels completely different from exploring cities because obviously, there's trees and nature and stuff. And I think that element really gives it much more of a sense of it being a really, like a true open world, like an actual world that you're exploring. And if you're into hunting, you're probably going to dig that element because there's over 24 species of animals. And aside from like regular, like, I'm going to shoot you with a bow and arrow, you can also leave bait for them and then set traps. I'm really happy that there's raccoons in the game, because as everyone knows, I love raccoons, so they're in that. I played through some of the Boston Tea Party stuff, which was great. I was actually really afraid that Connor's involvement in the Revolutionary War events would feel kind of tacked on. But in the mission I played, his primary concern was really protecting his own tribe. There's this guy named William Johnson who's threatening to buy the land that Connor's people live on, and Johnson happens to be the same guy who's selling all the overtaxed tea to the colonists. So Connor's involvement with the Tea Party is not so much that he's like, oh, let's go fight the English, up for the colonies, and it's more like he just wants to protect his tribe's land. So. Also, the actual Boston Tea Party was very stealthy. Nobody got killed. It was all very low-key. In the game, you're throwing boxes off and fighting off waves of redcoats, so it's a little bit video gamey, which is fine. I think a lot of people got really kind of burned out on Assassin's Creed because the last 3 games have been, running the same engine and using the same characters. But Assassin's Creed 3 is really just, it's a new game. And obviously there's a ton of stuff to talk about. In addition to the new setting, there's a new engine, new combat, new weapons, new multiplayer. We're actually going to come back to that at the end of the show. But we put up a bunch of standalone videos that are going over on the Rev3 Games channel. So just please go look at those. I talked to some of the developers, which was great. I got to hear their perspective on things. So go check those out. And also head over to Destructoid.com and read Hamza's write-up because he had many things to say as well. So
he usually does.
Go read words and stuff. It's good for your brain.
That it is. All right, so Borderlands 2 has been out for almost a week now, and despite universally positive reviews, some fans are upset and have even gone so far as to boycott it because they say it's not gory enough.
No.
There is currently a 76-page long thread on the Gearbox forums right now called Headshots, No More Heads Exploding, in which gamers have expressed concern over the lack of dismemberment in Borderlands 2. Just dismemberment, general gore. There's a lot less of it this time around. And if you spent any time in the game's menu system, you might have noticed that there is actually a censor gore option that allows you to toggle blood, guts, and dismemberment on or off. This was, of course, implemented by Gearbox to pacify countries like Germany and Australia, where violent video games are either heavily censored or outright banned. It also allowed them to advertise that the game would see a worldwide uncut release, and they also added that bandits will be just as likely to explode into bloody chunks of awesomeness in Germany and Australia as they will be in Canada or England. The problem is that even when you turn that feature off, the game is still way less gory than the first Borderlands. So whereas in the first one you could land a headshot and see a dude's head explode right off, or you could watch him burn to death after being shot with an elemental fire weapon, neither of those things happens in Borderlands 2, and in fact, dismemberment doesn't really seem to be an option at all. The only vague resemblance I noticed was that I could shoot the arms and legs off of robots, but that's about it. You can also shoot, corrosive weapons, but it's not nearly as gory as it was in the first one. Obviously, I don't think that seeing a dude's eyeballs explode out of his head is necessary to one's enjoyment of Borderlands 2, and frankly, I wouldn't have even noticed these things if someone hadn't explicitly pointed them out, but it is somewhat misleading to advertise your game as uncut when features have clearly been removed for the sake of a uniform worldwide release. Randy Pitchford responded to this particular criticism on a Kotaku Q&A recently, saying, quote, "We've found our fun and feedback in other inventive ways and have an ongoing thread on the table about how to adjust the system moving forward. There may be some patching. We'll see."
I like how nobody just addressed this and just was like, why do you need the gore? I mean, I know that video games are violent, that's a thing, but you ever just step back and realize that seeing a man's head explode is kind of gross?
It's kind of cool, actually.
It's kind of cool.
It gives you a
It's
good sense of accomplishment.
You sound like a crazy
lie.
person when you're angry. It's not a thing,
Well,
This movie needs more intestines. It's a romantic comedy.
I'm not angry, but I'm a little disappointed.
It's a cartoony game. I don't know why it's. If you want, go play Soldier of Fortune 2. So anyway, good news, PC fans. Mark of the Ninja is headed your way. That's your computer. That's happening in a couple short weeks. Clay Entertainment broke the news to Rock Paper Shotgun that the 2D stealth platformer would be hitting Steam on October 16th for $15, same price as it was on Xbox. And in case you missed it, the game was extremely well received when it came out at the start of this month. Our pal Anthony Carboni reviewed it on Rev3 Games and gave it our buy it rating. That's our rating, buy it. Saying it was one of the best stealth games in years, and he's someone who's usually pretty terrible at stealth. So the formerly Xbox 360 exclusive was published by Microsoft Game Studios, so obviously a lot of people, kind of assumed that it would be coming to PC at some point, but it's still nice to see it make the jump this quickly. As for features, it'll work with mouse and keyboard or controller, and it will have zero integration with Microsoft's Game for Windows Live service, so that's a good thing. While we're at it, another piece of awesome news for PC fans: the XCOM Enemy Unknown demo is now available through Steam. You've probably heard me talk about this game because I think it's cool and it has aliens in it, so if you have a PC, just go download it right now. It's a good, fun thing, and it's simple. Just do that. Just go. Right now, go.
Do it. Everybody says it's awesome. Moving on to a different platform, it's been a while since we talked about the 3DS, and that's probably because I haven't been interested in any 3DS games since, March? Is that when Kid Icarus Uprising came out? That's 6 months ago. It's pretty sad. That's all going to change soon, though, once Disney Epic Mickey Power of Illusion releases on November 18th. Destructoid's Tony Ponce was recently invited to Walt Disney World, of all places, to check out the game, and he attended a demo that was led by Warren Spector and Dream Rift's creative director, Pierre Ong. And as I might have expected, he loved every minute of it. Now, even though this game is releasing alongside Epic Mickey Power of 2, which is the sequel to Epic Mickey, it's more similar to the old Illusion series from the Sega Genesis era. Specifically, it's a tribute to Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse, with some features of Epic Mickey incorporated. For instance, he now has the same stomp attack he had in the original Castle of Illusion, but he's also inherited the spin attack featured in Epic Mickey. You'll also recognize some familiar enemies from Castle of Illusion, which Mickey can now use his paint and thinner on to defeat. You'll also be able to create objects by tracing them when they appear on the touchscreen with your stylus, and the more accurately you trace them, the more powerful your object can be, and that can actually backfire. If you do a really shitty tracing, he can, like, say, for instance, create a cannon that can actually blow himself up. So it can kind of work against you. But yeah, they've basically taken the best mechanics from both of those games, combined them, and then covered it in an 8-bit art style that's very similar to the original Castle of Illusion. Despite it being a platformer, though, there are some open-world-ish elements, including an area of the game called the Fortress, which is where other Disney characters just hang out, and they can offer you quests and goodies and stuff. You can also summon them as support characters later in the game by tracing their outline on the touchscreen, so apparently that's a pretty big mechanic. Of course, the absolute best part, which I haven't even mentioned yet, is that every stage in the game is based on a different Disney movie, and each of those stages is interconnected through dimensional fissures.
No.
So there's actually a nautical-themed level inspired by Peter Pan. There is a castle similar to the one from Beauty and the Beast. The Beast is even in there. And best of all, there is an Aladdin-themed level.
Not gonna lie, I'm stoked about this.
That is amazing. You can run through the streets of Agrabah as Mickey Mouse. That is incredible. I'm not really one of those people who's like weirdly into Disney stuff. Like, I love some of the 90s movies. I think they're great, but I don't have like lithographs in my apartment or anything. But this game looks like my childhood had sex with the Disney Vault, and that is freaking amazing to me. You guys can read Tony's full preview over on Destructoid.com if you'd like. Needless to say, if this turns out to be disappointing, I am throwing my 3DS in the garbage once and for all.
I will say that I'm pretty much not a Disney fan. I mean, I grew up with that stuff, but I wasn't really that crazy about it. But this looks really good. I'm really excited about this. Yeah. So
we got more news coming, but first, why don't we take a word from our sponsor?
Sounds good.
If you're anything like me, then chances are you hate shopping. Unfortunately, it's something we've all got to do, so why not make it easy on yourself? Jack Threads is an online shopping club that has all the best street, skate, and surfwear brands at crazy discounted prices. Best of all, you don't even have to leave the house. Take that, mall crowds. Jack Threads has tons of alternative apparel brands, stuff like Kid Robot, Hurley, and Stussy, at up to 80% off what you'd pay in a store. Typically, there is a wait list to join, but you watch our show, so you're already one step ahead of the curve. Just head over to jackthreads.com/destruct, and you can skip the wait list and get instant access right away. Again, that is jackthreads.com/destruct for cheap and fancy clothing.
Get that fancy clothing. So speaking of fancy clothing for resplendent gentlemen, I already told you guys about Assassin's Creed 3's single-player campaign, but we also got to go hands-on with the game's 2 new multiplayer modes. And to start this off, I'd like to show you the best screenshot of all time ever. Go. Look at this.
What's he doing to that guy's butt?
It's like a Hieronymus Bosch painting. Just the man with the bear and the axe, and I don't know what's happening.
There's so much going on. Just
kidding, I do know what's happening. This is actually a screenshot from the game's Wolfpack mode, which I got to play a bit at the Assassin's Creed 3 event. This is Assassin's Creed 3's cooperative multiplayer mode. You're part of a team of 4, a pack of wolves, if you will, and you're given a set of assassination targets that you need to take out before a timer runs out. And if you take them out before the time expires, you'll get a new set of targets somewhere else on the map, along with a timer bonus. So it's sort of like it's like an inverse horde mode. It's like if you were a horde that was going around and killing other people. The real challenge is in trying to synchronize attacks with your teammates. You get major bonuses for killing the group at the same time, and even more bonuses if you sneak up behind them like a stealthy assassin or a pack of wolves, perhaps. If you run in and just kill them, you might get a new set of targets, but your team will probably get mad at you like they got mad at me, and you won't get the bonuses to progress very far. It's a pretty fun thing to do, and it requires some coordination, and I thought it was pretty good once I got the hang of it. Other mode, which I really liked, was Domination. This is a competitive mode where your team is charged with maintaining control of 3 key points throughout the map. However, unlike similar modes in other games, you can't just run in and kill the opposing team to take over the point. Instead, your goal is to try and blend in with the AI and just loiter around the control point long enough to take it over. So what's cool is you're playing on this map that's just full of AI, this random kind of computer-controlled people walking around. So you're trying to look like them, and if you kind of move slowly around the map, you can blend in, and you really have no way of knowing who's AI and who's enemy. And only defenders of control points are actually able to kill. The attacking team can only stun targets, which incapacitates them for a short amount of time. It feels really different from the rest of the Assassin's Creed 3 experience. And normally you're running across buildings and you're trying to be like a badass and jumping around and stabbing people. But in this case, it's a kind of nice spin on typical multiplayer modes. I think it's really cool. It kind of reminded us of Spy Party, which is the indie game where you're trying to blend in with AI characters. If you guys want to learn more, we put up a full video of that over on our multiplayer impressions piece, and that's on Rev3 Games, so go check that out, youtube.com/Rev3Games.
If you don't like Assassin's Creed, I apologize for this episode also, because we talked about it a lot.
Well, hey,
but
man,
it's coming.
It's a big game. People
One of the
are
next
excited
big
about
ones.
it.
Yep.
We also talked about Mickey Mouse and Mark the Ninja.
I love Mickey Mouse.
And PC gaming. And I put all those eagles up there, which I thought was funny.
Good
It's
job,
multiplayer,
Max.
get it?
That about wraps it up for today's show. If you guys want to keep up with us outside of this thing that we do, you can go follow us on Twitter. I'm Tara Longest on there. He is Max Scoville, and the show is on there as well at Detoid Show. We will see you guys back here on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Busy week.
Busy week. It's getting exciting. Holiday season. Go to bed.